He blogs on the Detroit Lions for prideofdetroit.com. Sean Yuille back with the Wise Guy. Sean, welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me back.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Let's start first. Matthew Stafford offensively. A lot of folks are saying if this kid can stay healthy, he's going to be dynamite. What are the expectations with the improved offense for the Lions?
The expectations are very high for Stafford after he had off-season shoulder surgery back in January. He spent the first 9 to 10 weeks of the off-season rehabbing, going through an extensive weight program to bulk up his upper frame. And he has looked very good so far, both physically and on the field when he's playing. He's been hooking up with Calvin Johnson a lot in practice and as he did last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. And if he can stay healthy, the expectations are for him to have a breakout season and potentially put up Pro Bowl caliber numbers.
You got Charles Johnson, one wide receiver, and this guy's just fantastic. Now, I'm trying to remember, too, and I don't have notes in front of me. Did you guys draft another wide receiver? Because I remember being kind of excited about a guy that I'm thinking, wow, next to Charles Johnson, that'll be pretty good, too, some.
Yeah, the Lions drafted Titus Young from Boise State in the second round of this year's NFL draft. And between him, Nate Burleson, and Calvin Johnson, the Lions definitely have some explosive playmakers at the wide receiver position.
And then you look defensively as Sean Yuille joins us. We're talking with a blogger on the Detroit Lions. prideofdetroit.com is the website. Defensively, you got Nick Fairley. Quickly, injury update on him. How long do you think he's going to be out with that injury?
The expectation right now is for Fairley to return in the next 2 or so weeks, or at the very latest, he should be back in time for the regular season. I don't know if he will actually see any playing time during the preseason, given how much he has missed so far during training camp, but he just got his cast off for a walking boot, so the hope is he'll be back sooner rather than later.
And Ndamukong Suh, by the way, $20,000 lighter in the wallet for the hit on Andy Dalton. But you guys have just got to be so geeked up in Detroit because we just talked about the offense. You got Javid Best at running back, by the way. I mean, you guys, there's so much promise there. Defensively, were you surprised with Ndamukong Suh having the season that he had that Nick Fairley was drafted by the Lions, or just like, hey, he fell into our lap, we took him?
Perhaps the most surprising part was that Fairley fell all the way to number 13 because on the day of the draft, there was a mock draft that came out from the Dallas Morning News, and it said that Fairley could go to the Lions. And a lot of people were surprised that he would even be available. And then, lo and behold, the first round rolls around, and there's a run on quarterbacks, and suddenly Fairley is there for the Lions, and they decide to go best player available. He was a potential top 5 talent, and they decided rather than fill a need or reach for a player to fill a need, they decided to just bolster their defensive tackle and make the defensive line even more talented than it already is. And it really says something that a guy like Fairley might not have even been able to start even before the injury because of Ndamukong Suh and Corey Williams. And now you have a guy like him in the rotation as a potential backup initially to come in and wreak havoc when Suh and Williams are rotated out. Although Suh very rarely is.
Gotcha. Hey, Sean Yuille joining us on the Southeastern Sports Medicine Wise Lines, managing editor for prideofdetroit.com, blogs on the Lions. Go ahead, Seth.
And yeah, Sean, you mentioned the interior lineman. I'm looking on the outside. I'm seeing Kyle Vandenbosch and Cliff Averill, who I love, put up quite a bit of stats last season. But I'm looking at these linebackers, and that was always one of the places where I was looking at the Lions defense saying, man, if they get some linebackers, they're going to be really good. And now you got Justin Durant, DeAndre Levy, and Stephen Tulloch. I mean, those are 3 just great veteran guys. Out of those 3 guys, who's been the most impressive so far in camp?
I would say it's pretty equal between DeAndre Levy and Stephen Tulloch, simply because they've been switching between middle linebacker and outside linebacker. So those are the 2 that people have been keeping an eye on the most. And with Tulloch coming in, he's expected to eventually take over the middle linebacker position as a starter. But for now, the Lions are just rotating and mixing things up while they can to see what works best. And you're right, once the Lions do go into the regular season, they'll have a great starting linebacking core, which they could not say last year. And especially earlier in the offseason, there were a lot of concerns about how are they going to fill these 2 open starting linebacker spots. And they go out in free agency and get Durant and get Tulloch, a guy Jim Schwartz likes very much and used to coach back in Tennessee. And now that's actually a strength rather than a weakness. And now the defense is pretty much set, especially since the Lions re-signed Chris Houston at cornerback and also added Eric Wright. So suddenly there's quite a bit of depth at each major position group, which is pretty surprising considering how quickly they've been able to build up that talent on the defense.
Sean Yuille, managing editor, prideofdetroit.com, blogs on the lines. You can also follow him on Twitter at Pride of Detroit. Before we let you go, high expectations for the Lions. I mean, a lot of folks are really excited, and we're excited because Detroit's such a great sports town, Sean, as you know. And it'd be nice to see the Lions kind of get back in the picture, which we haven't seen really since the Barry Sanders days, I should say. How excited are you guys? Are you being maybe a little bit tempered because, well, you don't want to get too high, but you guys got to be pretty geeked up there.
Oh, definitely. This is by far the most excited Lions fans have been since Barry Sanders retired, since before he retired and he was still playing and helping the Lions go to the playoffs every so often. And really there hasn't been a lot of hype since then. You had the Matt Millen era, although there was 1 year coming off of the 7-9 season where people were saying, well, this could finally be the year. And then, of course, the Lions went 0-16, and we've been rebuilding ever since. But now this is really seen as the year that everything can come together. If you have Stafford staying healthy, he's got weapons galore on offense. You have Sue leading a very talented defense. And obviously there are still some that are saying, wait and show me something before I jump too far into the drink of Kool-Aid. But the Lions have given fans a reason to be excited, and hopefully this is the year that they show them that their hype and optimism was for something rather than just make-believe.
I got a good feeling, man. I really do. I don't know about winning the division, but I think the Lions are going to be right there in the conversation.
Yeah, people are saying Matt Millen who?
Yeah, man, oh man, that's no doubt about that. And of course, it's one of the tough divisions out there. And the Lions open up September 11th at Tampa. That should be a great Week 1 matchup. Sean, we appreciate you so much for stopping by, and hopefully catch up again if we got some breaking news involving the Detroit Lions. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
You bet. Sean Yuille right there. He's a managing editor, and the website is prideofdetroit.com.
Yeah.